Hey, Davey, how are you going?
Yeah, doing well, doing well. It's
Yeah.
every day is a new day. I think that there are new circumstances, new stories, new understandings, and I think there's more change in a day now than there's been in a month previously. So it's
Ain't that the truth?
yeah,
Ain't that the truth? And speaking of change, you're not wearing a red shirt. What's going on?
I did that just for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was starting to worry about it. Didn't realize
Yeah.
you had 8 of them. That's crazy.
One day I'll show you my wardrobe and we'll compare notes. Although
Yeah,
you will absolutely win that battle.
I think so. Yes, I think that's probably true.
Mm.
So you've had a pretty challenging time of this, just like I think probably every coach that we're friends with across the real estate space. A lot of their work has pretty much dried up overnight. And of course, you made the brave decision to go out on your own just prior to Christmas. So you contracted to me and Lang & Simmons a few days a week, but on your own a couple of days a week. And you've got a
Yeah.
rental property. So you've got a lot of stuff going on right now. How are you
Yeah.
feeling about all that?
Yeah, well, look, I think there's probably two parts to that question. I think how am I feeling now is somewhat different to how I was feeling maybe a week or 2 weeks ago. I think everybody out there at the moment is feeling uncertainty, fear of the unknown, fear of the future. And, I think that the one thing that I was lacking back then was control. Not that I've got control right now, but, back then I felt like I was wildly out of control. And I guess, over the first 2 weeks of our lockdown, I lost a number of my clients. And, as a result, revenue had dropped. And, I suffered a similar fate that a lot of our landlords that we look after have, in that the tenants, kind of pushed for a unreasonable concession, if you like. So financially, I guess we're looking down the barrel of, well, I guess, at least a far worse position. And at that point, I catastrophized a little bit in terms of what was going to
Oh
happen.
gosh, that doesn't sound like you, Davey.
Yeah. So I kind of, I was a bit challenged by that. And
Yeah.
I guess as a result of that, had suffered what one could only describe as anxiety. I was really anxious, not having any of the answers. And, it wasn't just a psychological anxiety, it was physical as well. And, I kind of looked at this and went, what's going on here, right? Like, I'm a behavioral coach, and so, it took a little bit of time to step back. And, I'm very lucky I've got my own coach, and spent a bit of time with my coach, and we unpacked it. And, I just came to realize that whilst I had already done some work on the concept of control and relinquishing it, this crisis had just represented a lot of those old lessons back to me. And it was just an opportunity for me to explore it further and do a bit of inner work and introspection. And I guess, where possible, move to a place of surrender.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's there's a lot of us in the real estate industry that are used to being in control, and losing control can be really challenging. For me, I've just jumped on and tried to communicate. I'm in the privileged position of having access to information a little bit earlier than a lot of people. So for me, I feel like I've got something useful to do with that. And I know that's how Jax feels as well. But yeah, for you, that whole loss of control has been a real challenge. So I wonder how many of our team members out there in the field are suffering the same thing.
Yeah, look, well, to be honest, I mean, just like you, I have, dozens and dozens of conversations a day with
Yeah.
business owners and salespeople, and everybody feels like they are out of control right now.
Yeah.
The tide is turning a little bit. The general sentiment, the emotion, the energy that people are carrying this week is, better than last week. And certainly at the back end of last week, it was also improving. So,
Yeah.
I think that generally speaking, there's a bit of sentiment that, they can see the forest for the trees, and there's a little bit of blue sky. But it is definitely a very, very common theme right now.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Everybody's saying the same thing to me at the moment, that that the energy and the sentiment is a lot different today than it was even just a few days ago. So that is awesome.
Yeah.
Now you have 2 gorgeous little kids at home. How
Yeah.
old are they?
Harper's 5 and Benji is 2.
And how is that going, being isolated with the family, and particularly such young kids that really don't understand daddy's got to work, right?
Yeah. Look, it is challenging. Absolutely. It's challenging for them. It's challenging for my wife and also me. But I guess one of the things that I've done is I compartmentalize my time. So I work in 2 hour blocks. So what I'll do is I'll have 2 hours of Zoom meetings,
Yeah.
and then I'll take a half an hour to return my emails. I may choose to meditate. I may choose to turn my phone off. I may choose to just spend time with the kids so that, there is some degree of normalcy.
Yeah.
And that gives me still a good solid working day. I find that I'm present for my clients. I'm then sort of present and available for my kids. I'm not sure if you can hear them crying at the moment, but something's happened. It's like, this is not a sprint. It potentially is a marathon, and the
Yeah.
habits and the structures that you set up that allow you to access all of your resources, they're critically important.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm finding that routine is really important for me too. So I'm getting up and exercising every morning. I'm getting dressed like I'm at work, except for, my leisure wear from the waist down. But what I'm not doing is taking those breaks. And I'm finding that as a result, by the end of the day, I'm suffering from really bad headaches and very, I'm absolutely wiped out by the end of the day. So I think that's really good advice. I might try and incorporate some of that. My meditation's been happening at 1 a.m. when I can't sleep. So I know that's not ideal either, but it's better to do it than not.
Yeah, look, I've actually stepped up the meditation, so I'm doing it anywhere between 3 and 4 times a day,
Wow.
depending on what's going on.
Sure.
If I'm in a pretty good headspace, if I'm balanced, if I'm grounded, then it might be 2 times. Or I might be journaling. So again, sort of all of the things that I'm prescribing for my clients just to get a better grip on their emotional response. So I'm, living that myself.
Yeah.
But also the literature that I'm consuming. I made a conscious effort to get off social media. I made a conscious effort not to consume the news. A lot of the sensationalism, like, bad news sells headlines. It wasn't doing anything for my psyche. And I kind of shifted my consumption. Actually, I've got my book here that I'm reading. So I've actually shifted so this is The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama, which is, it's about the Buddhism principle, but again, it's about control and surrender. So I'm just kind of really conscious of what I kind of let into my bandwidth at the moment.
Which is so incredibly important. I've had that conversation with a couple of people in the last 24 hours. I do watch the news because I need to report back to everybody on what's going on, obviously, but I always make sure I don't finish my night that way. So I watch it for half an hour or so, and then I just watch some rubbish that makes me smile and just, loosens the load a little bit. So now there's always a silver lining with every challenge. What's been the silver lining out of this for you?
Well, I think we've already spoken about one of them, and that is, re-engaging in my own sort of journey around control and the next evolution of that. It's enabled me to pivot. I mean, I've been having a conversation for probably 2 years, maybe even 3 now, around diversifying the delivery of my coaching to a digital platform, and I had resisted it for a long time. And
yes, you had. You didn't want to ever do Zoom. We had lots of conversations around that. So I just find this absolutely hilarious that you're now able to do it so comfortably. It's awesome.
Yeah, look, I don't enjoy it in the same way that I do a face-to-face environment. So much of the coaching work that I do is from, I guess, reading the physiology of the person, the non-verbal cues. So you don't get the full picture when you're doing it digitally, but I see myself staring intently, at the person's eye patterns and movements, and I can still get most of the picture. But it's enabling me to, I guess, put the right kind of practices, and it's a journey for me too. I'm learning it. Each one I do, I'm getting better. I'm learning how to access the visuals and the resources to share on my calls. So it's a journey, and eventually when we do move to our new property up the coast, it just means that I'm going to be able to continue to serve more clients whilst not being restricted by geography.
Yeah. And the other silver lining for you, I know we spoke about the fact that you're actually getting a little bit more time with the kids.
Yeah, which is awesome. It's before all of this happened, 12, 13-hour days, 5, 6 days a week, not common, not uncommon for anybody in this industry, right? But I kind of made the choice to I'm not doing a 12-hour day right now, but when I'm in, I'm I'm entirely present and accessible, and it's just allowing me to focus on what is most important. You know,
Yep.
we all say and we all know that family is most important, but yet, you know, do our attentions align with our behavior? And I guess in this instance, it's just been a really good opportunity to, you know, put what is top of my value chain first and kind of live and breathe it. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really good to see you happy and calm, I have to say. That's fantastic. The meditation and the Buddhism seems to be working. So
Yes.
thank you so much for taking the time to check in. And I will talk to you in our team meeting tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Awesome.
Yeah.
See you then.
Okay. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Bye.